know what that was, but it blew up. I don't know if you can see it from there. Wow.
You may have caught the UpTake's live coverage of the Republican National Convention. We seemed to have cameras wherever the action was and were reporting what was happening hours, if not days, before the legacy media.
And the gassing has started. And we have running.
So how did the UpTake, a nonprofit that operates on a shoestring budget based on the kindness of donors, manage to outdo the multi-million-dollar corporations? Simple. Train, organize, and crowdsource.
I can totally help you with this.
We discovered people learn the most when we do hands-on, one-on-one sessions to cover the basics.
I plug in the microphone, I turn on the camera, I point, I shoot, and suddenly I'm telling my own story.
Okay, now you've got a bunch of people who know how to run a camera and are ready to go out and cover news. So what do you do next? Well, you got to organize. And we do that the same way that we organize a political campaign.
We turn to free services available on the web to keep track of volunteers, story ideas, events, and of course equipment. We didn't have our own equipment to start with, so we created a database of tripods, cameras, microphones, and so on that our volunteers own and were willing to lend out. We also let people submit story ideas to our website.
The hardest part was finding volunteers to cover these stories, so we put one person, Jennifer, in charge of connecting volunteers and stories.
You want to find out what they're interested in first. If they're not passionate about what they're doing, then they're either not going to volunteer for it or they're not going to do it well. So if you find out what people's interests are, then they're more willing to cover the story and cover it well.
Keep being hopeful.
Organizing volunteers was integral to our marathon coverage of Minnesota's U.S. Senate recount and election contest trial.
The ballots are missing.
The UpTake was the only media to cover every minute of this, and thousands around the world watched daily for several months.
It was extremely important to have experienced journalists and videographers working with our volunteer citizen journalists. They would engage in things like note-taking, in running our stream, in shooting either video or still photography for coverage, for research or fact-checking. So really every operation of a normal newsroom was replicated in some way by either work I did or work citizen journalists assisting me did.
Organizing can be as low-tech as listing what to cover here on a piece of paper and then asking people to go out and cover it with a camera. Or you can go high-tech.
Using Cover It Live and Twitter during live events, we're able to let our audience help us with the reporting. The timestamp on both services helps us locate important snippets of videos out of the hours we record, allowing our volunteers to quickly edit clips that are interesting. Using a free service called TubeMogul, we can publish these clips to YouTube, Blip, and more than a dozen other video sites in a matter of minutes. During the RNC, we used crowdsourcing on Twitter to track where news was happening by searching for the RNC hashtag or following particular people's tweets. Since our volunteers were dispersed all over downtown St. Paul, we could have someone on the scene in minutes, and thanks to a free service called Quick, we were able to stream live video of the event as it happened.
To live stream, we actually used phones, two phones. We used the iPhone and we used the Nokia N95. Now both of these phones kind of have lousy lenses like pinhole cameras, and they don't have the greatest, microphones. They sound like a microphone you would have on a phone, so it sort of sounds like a phone call. But we got really good results when we added in a real microphone with an adapter that went to the Nokia N95. And with that, we were able to stream stuff really, really well. The other advantage here is that both of these phones streamed to a server, which was very important because the video wasn't on here. And when the video wasn't on here, the police couldn't confiscate it.
That's an important consideration because police arrested dozens of journalists, including one of our own. Once the video was streamed from the phone, it was on the server where the police couldn't reach it. We still sent people out with regular tape cameras, and they came back with compelling video that we quickly captured, edited, and distributed for the whole world to see.
The UpTake, a shoestring volunteer operation, was able to do all this not only because the technology was easy and affordable, but because we were able to organize. Yes, organize. That's the secret ingredient. And it's something that we can teach others to do.